and welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. I think I keep saying it the same way every day and it's becoming a little too predictable. So, you know what? Namaste and welcome to my Indian Queen's Curry Kitchen. You are now with me in my kitchen in Queens. Queens is a small, tiny borough in the city of New York with a lot of personality and lots of different nationalities that live here very peacefully. Now, the dish that I'm going to make you today is actually special for two reasons. One, because I had never eaten it till the time that I'd actually gotten married to my husband. And second, in case you did not know, my marriage was arranged. Yes, I married a complete stranger. So his food culture, because they came from a different state of India, and my family's food culture was completely different. So I not only married a stranger, but I married into a different lifestyle, a different kind of way of eating, a different way of dressing, a different language, a different everything, as different as it gets. And we as people were just completely diametrically opposite individuals. Yes, if you are seeing that show nowadays on Netflix called Indian Matchmaking, honey, that was us. The only thing is we did not need a matchmaker. We had a common friend who was a go-between for the two families, and so that's how it ended up. But you know what? 23 years later, we are still here and we are very much together. So, this dish is important because I only learned to eat it and cook it after I got married to my husband. And also, it's a match made in heaven by itself. So, I'm going to show you the tostada and how it's made the Indian way and traditionally what it is actually served with. So, that's the match made in heaven as well. So, two times Indian matchmaking. And if you have an Indian partner or if you have an Indian in laws situation, if you can make this dish, they will be very happy. So, this is essentially a breakfast or a brunch dish that's made very commonly. And it has some very simple, basic, humble ingredients. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into Indian matchmaking. So, let's do this. All right. So, for the tostada, it's incredibly simple. You actually just need all purpose flour. And I had to go ahead and make this ahead of time because I needed to set the dough in order for me to show you the tutorial. So, this is about 2 cups of all-purpose flour, to which I added about a quarter of a cup of rice flour. Now the reason I add the rice flour is to give it that little bit of crunch, so I do that. And then I added some salt to taste, some cumin seeds. You see these? These are little cumin seeds. And I added some cayenne pepper. You can add paprika or cayenne pepper, whatever you have. Oh my God, Kali Sama is saying he is Indian on both sides. Yes, yes, yes to the ancestors. So, honey, let's make this so that you can give a bow down to them and tell them that, we are thriving, we are doing well, and we are keeping the culture alive by cooking our traditional foods and sharing it with other people. All right, so the dough is needed to be really tight, but it's kind of smooth. And then I let it chill in the fridge for about 20 minutes. And then I made little balls out of it, right? So just salt, cayenne pepper, cumin seeds, add the water very slowly. So if I give you the exact proportion of water that went into making this dough, for about 2 cups of all-purpose flour, I used a little less than a half a cup of water. So add the water very slowly because you don't want some slushy Elmer's glue mush in your mixing bowl, right? So that's what we have going. So I've kind of made these little golf balls. I'm gonna flip the camera, or I'm gonna position it so that you guys can see what is going on. Instagram gets to go first. This is the workstation, and Facebook gets to go next. So thank you, Facebook family. Thank you, Instagram family, for hanging out with each other and being so patient. All right, so this is a pan with really hot oil, and the way you get them to be really crisp is that you have to have the oil on high, but once you put them in, you fry them low and slow. So that makes them nice and crunchy, and also the rice flour certainly helps. Okay, this is traditionally eaten with this dal dish, and it's basically just Bengal grams which have been boiled. If you can see, don't boil them till they're mushed. Okay, so the grains need to be pretty visible and they need to be fully cooked, but they need to be upright. Like, they should not disintegrate, they should not disappear. So I've done it in a Instapot, but you can do it on the stove top. This particular dal is called Bengal gram or chana dal, Chanadal, and it's easily available in any Indian grocery store. Um, I've just boiled this with salt and turmeric, and that's it. Nothing else. Okay. So this is what it looks like. Now, if you're going to serve this dish family style, then put the entire dal in a platter, and then you can put all your, I'll tell you how to temper this dal. But if you're going to serve it as in when different people are going to eat it, then take it out in a small portion and only temper what you're going to be using at that time. Okay, so we are going to do the dressing for the dal first. We will temper it, we will dress it. It's still hot, so I don't need to warm it up again. And what I'm going to do is, as a topping, it's actually fried with some kind of heat, and I don't like heat, so I've taken the lower part of this pepper, and I'm going to just fry them in this oil. If you don't like heat, you can use bell peppers. It just adds a nice flavor to it. And as a topping, we will use onions. You can use red or white. We will also use tons of cilantro. And we will use sweet tamarind chutney. And we will use green mint cilantro chutney. Okay, we will also use dry spices, and I will show you exactly how we do that. So while this is happening, I also like to put ginger julienne, but that's not the traditional way that my mother-in-law makes it. Okay, and you have to be very careful because sometimes the seeds will pop, and you're just basically trying to get a shine on the skins of the pepper. You're not trying to scald them or burn them in any way, just a little bit of a thing, right? So you got that. Set it aside. That's one of the accompaniments. Now I'm going to show you what we do to the dal itself so that we can, I'm just trying to figure out where should I do this. Actually, I should just take it in my hand and do it. So this is the dal, and before we add any tempering to it, these are the dry spices that we're going to add. We will add some coriander powder. This is finely ground coriander powder. If you don't have it, you can always message me. I have it on my website. We sell it freshly ground. Let me say a quick hello to Tiffany who is tuning in. So Tiffany, I'm making a breakfast brunch dish which is called dal pakwan. It is the Indian version of tostadas, and this is the lentil that it's traditionally served with. It's Bengal gram lentils, and I've boiled them with salt and turmeric and just a little bit of water. The grains are pretty much whole; they shouldn't be mushed. And now I'm working on the tempering. So if you're going to serve this dish, like I said, in a family style, then just put all the dal in a platter or in a casserole and then do the tempering. But I'm only serving one portion right now for my daughter. So on goes the coriander powder. Then I'm using some paprika, and I'm going to use a little bit of turmeric. You can also use some dry mango powder, which I will probably put after I've tempered everything. I'm adding a pinch of garam masala. That's all that happens right now, okay? Now the oil is nice and hot. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a ladle full of the oil and spoon it on top of the dal. And what that does is immediately with the heat of the oil, the spices actually get singed. I'm going to get a plate and put it on top of that because it might sizzle out and I really don't want to get burnt, and I have to keep it in my hand to be able to show you guys. Okay, so you're going to take a spoonful of this oil. Make sure it's really hot. No, it's not hot enough, so I'm going to raise the temperature again. The other accompaniments that are going to go on top are going to be some raw onions, some cilantro, and some green chilies that I just fried. So those are the other accompaniments that are going to go on there. Some people like to add cumin seeds. I don't like any of that. I'm just doing it exactly how my mother-in-law taught me. Okay, and this is the product of an arranged marriage. When you have an arranged marriage and you know nothing about your family and what they eat, you learn, right? Okay, so now the oil is nice and hot. I'm just going to take a scoopful of it. And you see that sizzle that you hear? So that is just that brief sizzle which actually cooks the spices in a flash. So if you're an oil-free person, I don't know what advice to give you, because that's the thing that infuses the flavor of the peppers into the oil as well. Okay, so this is ready. You're going to top it with some raw onions. And I cannot tell you, the minute the hot oil hits the spices, especially the coriander powder, it is really amazing. So this is definitely a match made in heaven. This is the accompaniment with the Indian tostada. We will jump to making the tostada in just a minute. I have some tamarind chutney, homemade tamarind and jaggery chutney, which is kind of sweet, spicy, sour. Gonna put a few drops of that in here. And if your mouth is watering, I'll give you 2 seconds. You can go and wipe it out with a bounty or something. And this is the mint cilantro chutney. So this is a very, very typical breakfast brunch item from the part of India that my husband's family is from, and they're from Sindh. When the India-Pakistan partition happened in 1947, that part of the country actually ended up going to Pakistan in the partition. So Sindhi people in India do not really have a physical geographical state that they can relate to. So they really hold on to their food very dearly because that's pretty much one of the last identities that they have. And I absolutely love Sindhi culture. I speak the language. It took me about 3 weeks to learn the language, which was very different from the languages that I grew up talking in. But I absolutely enjoyed it. I love my husband's family to death, and my mother-in-law is my teacher and teaching me all the fantastic dishes, the cultures. All right, so jumping back to the tostada, this is the dough: 2 cups of all-purpose flour, half a cup of water, some cumin seeds, cayenne pepper, and salt to taste. Right. So we are going to go in and roll out these tostadas. I hope you can see it. Now, when I fry something, I try not to dust this in too much dry flour, because what that does is it actually settles at the bottom of the pan and then starts to burn. So I try to actually just dip it in oil so that it's still non-stick. And you're going to roll these out not too thin, not too thick. So these are supposed to be crisp. So you're almost supposed to snap one piece and then dip it into a chunk of the dal and eat it like that. So it's supposed to be pretty crisp, right? Which is why I've added a little bit of rice flour to this. I guess you can bake these too, but I've just never tried it. I only do it the traditional way, and this is not something that we eat every day. It's just a once in a while indulgence, and especially if you're feeding a large crowd and you're out of ideas, then this is something that everybody grew up on. And in Sindhi families, everybody grew up on this, so no one really says no to it. So it's pretty much the ultimate crowd pleaser. Everybody's moms have fed them this at some point in their lives. Okay, so not too big, not too small, not too thin, not too thick, evenly on all sides. I'm going to complete the circle. The next step that we're going to do is really important. I'm going to turn up the heat because I think it's dying down. The next step is you're going to take a fork and you're going to make some holes in this. The reason being that when you put it in the oil, you don't want it to fluff up or puff up like a puri, which is a fried balloon shaped bread that I've taught you before. You want this to be absolutely flat and crisp, right? So you want it to be crunchy and crispy. So make sure you make these holes in there. You see this? There's like little tiny holes in there. Yeah. And we're going to put it in here. Increase the heat to medium high. Press it down. Keep it, hold it down. Don't let it rise. And dough has a tendency to shrink back. But when you let it rest and you give it enough time, Callie's like, I have to place an order. Yes, honey, you can do that whenever you want. I'm ready for you. So I'm going to give it a quick flip. Unfortunately, I cannot have my hood on to take the exhaust away. So I won't be able to fry too many while I'm on camera because my fire alarm is going to go off. And now I'm going to turn down the heat to between medium, just at medium. So it'll cook slowly. I'm going to use this time to actually go ahead and roll out the next one, which is here. Again, flatten the sides. Don't use any dry flour for dredging it. Just dip it in the oil and roll them out very gently. You have all the time in the world because this is going to be a while, right? So always try to time it. Sometimes people just like to roll them out in one shot and then fry them in one shot. It's up to you. Sometimes if you're feeding a large family, like we had 9 members in our family, and everybody, if they sat down to breakfast together, oh boy, it was going to be a long day. So we would actually put 2 frying pans next to each other between my sister-in-law and I, and we would just power fry them for breakfast. And we wouldn't call anybody to the table till we had at least a buffer of 9, because we know that if everybody started with one each, then it would take time for them to ask for more. By then we would probably be able to catch up somewhat. There was a lot of multitasking and production calculations that we had to do in order to feed that large family. But it was a lot of fun, I tell you. I miss those days. Like to this day, I really cannot cook anything in a small quantity because I'm just so used to um, cooking for a large family. All right, so this is really getting red very, very quickly, so you don't want it to burn. I've actually gone ahead and made the same holes with a fork in my next one. So this is ready to go in. I'm going to quickly take a peek under and see. So here, you don't want it to be burnt, but it needs to be a golden brown. And even if it seems like it's a little soft, remove it from the hot oil anyway. The reason being that as it cools, it becomes more crisp, right? So I'm going to fry the second one and I'm going to wait for this to cool and then I will show you the snap of it. So you can actually get a sense of it, right? Like how would you feel if you were invited to a cooking show and nobody told you what it tasted like? Or there wasn't a taste test? That would be cheating. Yeah. Okay, so the next one goes in. Then increase the heat a tad bit just to get it started and then I will reduce the heat. So whenever you're frying something, and I try to fry things in not too much oil, just hold it down. Oh, by the way, I should mention this. When I was kneading the dough, I also added 2 tablespoons of oil to the dough. So, just like how you make short crust, you add shortening or you add lard or whatever. So I added just regular oil to the dough. And what that does is it helps to keep it tight and compact. And also when it goes in the oil, it does not suck up a lot of the oil from the pan because there is already oil inside the dough. So whenever you're making something that you're frying, make sure you add a little bit of fat to your dough, especially if you intend to fry something, because then it prevents it from soaking up all the oil, and when you bite into it you don't taste the oil. Like a good fried item looks like this. It doesn't show any oil on the top. You see, like there is no oil on top. It's completely dry. Even if you're making a paratha, if you have kneaded the dough properly and put in enough ghee or oil in the layers, it's not going to be super oily. So that's how you know you've done it right. Okay, so see how clean this is. It's not oily. There is no grease on top. So when you eat anything, when you order anything and you see that it's greasy on top, that means someone did not do the dough right, and that's why it's probably sucked up a lot of the oil from the pan. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'm flipping this around. And you constantly press it down so that whatever bubbles, if at all they are forming, they actually get suppressed, and so it'll keep the crispness of it. That's pretty much it. So it's incredibly simple, but it's just a matter of planning all the different condiments and the accoutrements. If you would like to learn how to make the sweet chutney, or if you would like to learn how to make the cilantro mint chutney, definitely leave me a comment below. I would do a tutorial for that. And if you'd like to take a class and learn to cook like me, you can do that. All the information is on www.queenscurrykitchen.com. All the spices that you can get, the spice box that you can order, which actually looks like this, and it comes fully loaded with the Indian spices. The vegan Indian cookbook, everything is already on the website for your convenience. You can always shoot me a DM if there are some specific dishes that you want to learn but you don't see it listed on the site. And by the way, we have a YouTube channel now, so if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, maybe you need to do that. Yeah, lots of information. So I'm just gonna crank it up just a little bit because I feel like it's cooked nicely. I didn't make them too thick, so it's not going to take too long to cook. Now it's just a matter of getting the color. Also, when you make holes in this, the oil actually goes in from one side and comes out the other, so the hot oil actually helps to cook the center through the middle, the core of these kind of dishes like pakwan. Okay, so whenever my mother-in-law actually orders Tex-Mex and we ask her, Mom, what do you want to order? She says, get me the Mexican pakwan. So I'm calling it the Indian Tostada, but my mother-in-law calls it the Mexican pakwan. So that's really cute, right? Yeah, she calls it, just get me that pakwan thing. Because I think it's the closest thing culturally to what she grew up eating. It comes with beans and it comes with like onions and salad or whatever. So it's kind of like the closest combination. If you really look at it, this has the cilantro, it has the onions, it has the sauces, and then it's that nice crisp shell that you get, right? So yeah, she always calls it, get me the Mexican pakwan. So I call it the Indian tostada. I know I'm silly, I'm goofy, but I like to share these little snippets from my life with you guys, right? You're in my kitchen, you're in my life, we share so much food together. Of course, you need to hear the stories behind the food, right? Okay, so this is DDD done. I'm just gonna take a minute and just rest it against the side of the wall of your pan so that the excess oil will drain off, and then you'll have a clean pakwan without any oil floating on top. It's just supposed to be clean. It's not supposed to have any oil clinging on it. You can't rush these things. Whew. So they're just going to be what they're going to be. I'm going to actually put this away because it's getting super duper hot. And I will put a cover on it because I do have to fry a few. But I guess you're probably ready for the taste test. Are you ready for the taste test? I think so, right? All right. So Tiffany is saying, I love watching you. You've expanded my palate, and I gave you a story to think about, right? So we are here. There is Pragya who says, of course, story is behind the food equally important. Yes, absolutely. I think we all connect with the stories, and there's a reason why immigrants always hold on to their food. I think when we come to another country, like I came to America as a 24-year-old new bride. I think you let go of a lot of things, but the last thing that any immigrant lets go of is his food culture. So it's interesting because you start, I mean, I was always wearing Western clothes and talking in English, so that really wasn't that much of a cultural shock. But actually, when I came to my mother-in-law's house and I started to live in this family with 9 people, they were so much more traditional than I was, even though I was the one who had come from India. So that was the culture shock for me, that oh my God, they're like 20 years behind in terms of the time and space situation. So they were very traditional, very typical, a lot more conservative in their food habits than I was, as somebody who had just newly come from India. So it's interesting. Now I laugh about it, but it did take a lot of adjustment. But you know what? Every challenge, everything, when you're ready to make something work, I think you really put in the energy, and that's what you put in, that's what you put out, that's what you're living and breathing. So I have some sweet memories of all those years, and here I am, proudly presenting to you my mother-in-law's favorite dal pakwan. I think it is every Sindhi's favorite. I'm going to do a quick taste test so you can get a sense of what it is. Now, this is, you hear this? That's how crunchy this is. So, adding rice flour to the all-purpose flour was really my invention, because I just saw my mom on my Bengali side doing that to give crunch to a lot of fried foods. So I figured, hey, why not? So I've tried to combine all the cultures as much as I can. You tell me if I'm successful or not, but I hope you will give this a try and enjoy this food. So I'm going to break this in. You see that? You hear the crunch? So it's really crunchy. It breaks off really easily. And the way you eat it is you go into this dal and you basically dunk right under, so you get all the masala, you get all the spices from the top, you get all the chutneys and all the cilantro. So that's what you get. Mm. Baby, if there was heaven on earth, it's here right now. I'm sorry, I feel guilty for eating this alone. I really do. But I cannot tell you how good this is. It might sound complicated, but it really doesn't have to be. So please give this a try. I promise you, you're going to love this, and it's going to become one of your favorite vegan go-to breakfasts. You can actually boil the lentils ahead of time, and you can only temper it before you're serving. You can make the dough ahead of time and only fry it when you're ready to serve. Or you can fry a bunch of these and put them in the fridge. They stay fine, and then just microwave it before eating. But I'm telling you, this is my favorite food from all the Sindhi foods that my mother-in-law taught me. And I think my husband will be very pleased today when he gets this. I mean, he's gonna eat it for dinner, but what the heck, right? He's gonna eat it any time of day. So that's how much they love dal pakwan. Like I said, if you liked anything that you saw, feel free to share this video if it added any value to your repertoire or brought a smile to your lips. Or if you liked the story, give it a thumbs up. I will see you again very soon, which is tomorrow. I'm not going too far. So tomorrow I will join you again at noon-ish. and we'll be making something else together again in my kitchen. If you want to sign up for my classes, they're all at www.queenscurrykitchen.com. Right on top, it says classes, and you can sign up for an online class. Now we are also doing a group class with cheft.co, CHEFTDOTCO, and we are offering a group lesson. So you will be actually cooking with a group of people, and I will be the instructor. But it's an omnivorous flexitarian recipe. You will be learning salmon glazed teriyaki and basil fried rice. So that is on the menu. The class floats on August the 2nd, but do check it out. It's on my Instagram feed. It's called cheft.co, CHEFTDOTCO. And I've made a post about it yesterday. So do check it out. If you'd like to do a group class, it's definitely cheaper. If you want to do one on one, that's out there too. There are classes for beginner, intermediate, and advanced, depending on wherever you fit in. And if there's something specific that you would like to learn, I'm very happy to accommodate that as well. Like always, without taking any more of your time, because I know you need to be places, you need to go places, you need to eat something, because obviously it's made you hungry. I will see you again in the next one. Be blissful, be flavorful, be kind to each other. Yes, everybody's going through a lot right now, and people are exasperated, challenged, had it. But you know what? Your smile, your kindness can go a long way. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you soon again in the next one tomorrow. Until then, goodbye and have a great day. Sharai, Sharu.